what if the person you respect the most,
Huh.
like your mentor or your favorite author, or maybe even your boss
Yeah.
or a spiritual guide, what if they're actually destroying your ability to think for yourself? Like,
Wow.
what if the very act of following their advice is the thing that's keeping you trapped?
That is a heavy question to start with.
It is, but I mean, usually philosophical texts are like weak tea.
Yeah, right.
You have to drink a gallon of pages to get just a slight buzz of insight.
Yeah, you're reading chapters and chapters just to find one good point.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But today's source material for this deep dive it's like a shot of intellectual espresso.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, it's a visual graphic brought to us by organizations identified as Life Clarity and the Anantaguru Foundation. And it is literally just 4 sentences long.
Which is wild.
Right, just 4 sentences. But those 4 sentences are so dense. I mean, they're dense enough to completely rewire how you view leadership and guidance and really your own autonomy.
Well, it fundamentally dismantles the whole modern self-help and leadership industries in what, like about 50 words?
Yeah, pretty much.
Because we are culturally conditioned to seek out experts, right? People who just hand us a blueprint for success.
Right, like a 5-step plan for happiness.
Exactly, or a rigid methodology for productivity. We want the answers handed to us. But this text, it operates on a completely inverted premise.
Yeah.
It suggests that anyone offering you those easy answers is actually actively doing you harm.
Which is so counterintuitive to how we're taught to learn.
Right. So the mission of our deep dive today isn't just to read this text, but to really pressure test its blueprint for self-awareness.
Yeah.
We need to figure out how to identify true guidance versus what is honestly a very subtle and highly sanitized trap of blind obedience.
Okay, let's unpack this.
Yeah.
Because the graphic actually starts with a directive right at the top, acting almost like a warning label before the definitions even begin. It says, simply think about this. It doesn't say believe this or memorize this philosophy.
It doesn't command your agreement.
Exactly. It demands cognitive friction from the very first syllable.
And that framing is crucial because it sets the terms of engagement right away.
Yeah.
It refuses to spoon-feed you a doctrine by telling you to think the text positions you as an active agent rather than a passive receptacle.
Like you have to do the work.
Yes. The author is essentially putting a heavy weight on the floor and saying, I'm not going to lift this for you.
Right.
You have to use your own muscles if you want to see what's underneath it.
And that shifts the burden of effort entirely onto the reader.
Absolutely.
If the text isn't going to do the heavy lifting, then the exhaustion of the journey that falls on us.
It does.
And that immediately redefines the power dynamic, which leads right into how the text defines a true guide.
Right. The first real sentence.
Yeah. It states, guru is one who enables one by sharing the path to discover and grow your self-awareness.
What's fascinating here is the specific choice of the verb there, enables.
Enables, yeah.
That word carries an immense psychological weight when you contrast it with the verbs we normally associate with leadership.
Like what?
Well, a commander directs, right?
Right.
A boss dictates. A traditional or perhaps corrupted view of a guru instructs.
Yeah, they tell you what to do.
Exactly. All of those verbs imply a top-down transfer of power or information.
Like pouring water into an empty glass.
Yes, perfectly said. But enablement implies that the raw material, the capacity, the potential is all already sitting dormant inside the individual.
Oh, wow. So you aren't being handed a missing piece of your personality.
Precisely. To enable a human being is to provide the conditions for them to realize their own latent power.
Right.
It completely democratizes the relationship. If I command you, I hold the power.
Yeah.
If I enable you, you hold the power, and I'm merely the catalyst.
I'm just the spark.
Exactly. But we should ask ourselves why this is so rare. Why do we so rarely see true enablement in our institutions or our relationships?
Well, because it requires the leader to relinquish control, right?
Yes.
Which is fundamentally opposed to human ego.
Oh.
Like if I'm a leader who dictates a vital, I am vital. I am the linchpin.
You're indispensable.
Right. If you fail, it's because you didn't listen to me.
Of course.
If you succeed, it's because my instructions were flawless. But if I just enable you, I don't get to take the credit for your success.
No, you don't.
I have to step out of the spotlight and let you shine.
And that egoless approach is reinforced by the next phrase in the text, which is by sharing the path.
Sharing the path.
A path is shared. It's not pointed at from a comfortable distance.
You know, I keep thinking about this like a high-altitude hiking guide.
Okay, yeah.
Imagine you hire someone to help you navigate a really treacherous mountain range.
Right.
A controlling guide, the opposite of what this text describes, would essentially put you in a helicopter,
Right.
fly you to the summit, drop you off, and say, look, you made it.
Wow, yeah.
And you've achieved the destination, but you didn't learn a single thing.
You have no idea how you got there.
Exactly. You didn't build any muscle.
Yeah.
You have no idea how to read the weather, and you certainly can't navigate the next mountain on your own.
Because you bypassed all the friction.
Right.
And that analogy highlights the vulnerability of the journey perfectly. If you take the helicopter, you avoid the pain, but you also avoid the transformation.
Yeah.
A guide who shares the path is walking in the mud with you.
They're right there.
They are subject to the same sudden storms, the same uphill climbs, the same physical exhaustion. They don't hover above the human condition. They participate in it alongside you.
Right. They might let you carry your own heavy backpack.
Yes.
They might even let you trip over a root or two so you learn to watch your step.
You have to feel the stumble.
Yeah, because the goal isn't just getting on the top of the mountain. The text is very specific about the destination of this shared path.
Right.
It's to discover and grow your self-awareness, not universal awareness, not the guru's awareness.
Yeah.
Your self-awareness.
Which brings up a really fascinating psychological hurdle here. The text breaks this down into a two-step process.
Okay.
Discover and then grow.
Right. Discover and grow.
We often assume self-awareness is just a given, that we all just inherently know who we are.
Yeah, I think most people would say, oh, yeah, I'm self-aware.
Right. But the text implies that your true self is actually hidden. It requires discovery, an active excavation.
Like digging it up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We build so many layers of protection, so many projected identities based on what our parents or our bosses or our society expects of us.
Yeah, you wear all these masks.
Discovering your self-awareness means stripping all of that away, which can be an incredibly anxious, destabilizing experience.
I mean, it's terrifying to realize that the person you've been presenting to the world might just be...
A collection of defense mechanisms.
Yeah, exactly. Just a bunch of walls you built.
And once you survive that discovery, once you peel back those layers, the text says you have to grow it.
Right, because it's not a finish line.
No, it isn't a static fact. You can just write down on a piece of paper and frame on your wall.
Yeah, I found myself check that box.
Right. It's a dynamic living ecosystem. As you age, as you experience trauma or joy, as your environment shifts, your awareness of your internal state has to continuously adapt.
So true.
The true guru's only function is to create the environment where you can do that terrifying excavation and cultivation entirely yourself.
But that creates a massive vulnerability for the student, doesn't it?
How so?
Well, if the process of self-discovery is that destabilizing and anxious, it makes us incredibly desperate for someone to just hand us the answers.
Absolutely.
Like when you are in the mud, tired and completely unsure of who you are, the absolute most seductive thing in the world is someone standing on a pedestal saying, I have the secret.
Just do exactly what I do.
Yes, just follow me and the pain stops.
Which perfectly bridges into the text's stark warning.
Right, the pivot.
Yeah, the graphic pivots violently from defining what a true guide is to exposing the trap of the false guide.
Let me read that part.
Go.
It states, remember, if a guru seeks followers, pause and think. Followers don't need to think and only follow the rules or process.
That is a complete inversion of how modern society measures authority and success.
Seriously.
We live in an era where influence is literally quantified by follower counts.
Like millions of followers makes you an expert automatically.
Right. The algorithmic age has hardwired us to believe that if 1 million people are walking behind someone, that person must hold a profound truth.
Yeah.
But this text argues that the very act of seeking followers is an immediate disqualifying red flag.
Why is it so disqualifying, though?
Because seeking followers is an act of extraction, not enablement.
Well, extract.
If a leader wants followers, their primary concern is the expansion of their own power base.
Right, their own platform.
Their own status, their own economic or social footprint.
Yeah.
The individual, the student, ceases to be a human being with latent potential and becomes a metric.
Just a number on a screen.
You become a brick in the monument they're building to themselves.
Wow. That is a dark way to look at it,
Yeah.
but it's so accurate. And before the text even diagnoses the follower, it drops another meta-directive right in the middle of the sentence.
The pause and think.
Yeah, it says pause and think. It literally interrupts its own sentence to force the reader to pump the brakes.
And that is the structural brilliance of the text.
Yeah.
Because when you are caught in the gravitational pull of a charismatic leader or a highly compelling movement, you gain a massive amount of psychological momentum.
It feels good, right?
It feels incredibly good to belong to a crowd.
Yeah.
It feels safe to be part of a herd moving in one direction.
You don't have to worry if you're making the right choice because everyone else is making it too.
Exactly. And the directive to pause and think is the emergency brake on that momentum.
It snaps you out of it.
It's a mechanism for reclaiming your autonomy in real time. By explicitly telling you to pause the text is practicing what it preaches.
Right.
It is forcing you out of a passive reading state and back into active cognition.
And it does not pull any punches when it assesses what that passive state actually looks like.
No, it doesn't.
It claims that followers don't need to think and only follow the rules or process. I mean, that is a devastating critique.
He is.
It reduces the concept of a follower to an automaton, like a piece of machinery,
It's a brutal trade-off, and one we honestly make willingly all the time.
because it's easier.
Right. The text implies that thinking, true independent critical thinking, is friction heavy.
It's exhausting.
It requires energy. It generates doubt and anxiety. The appeal of being a follower is cognitive offloading.
Cognitive offloading.
You hand over the heavy, uncomfortable work of decision-making, and in exchange, you get the deep psychological comfort of the rules or process.
If I just do A, B, and C, I'll be fine.
If you just follow the rules, you are promised safety.
See, I need to push back on the text's outright dismissal of rules or process here. Because honestly, this feels dangerously absolute. I mean, doesn't a teacher fundamentally need students?
Mm.
How is the source separating a student from a follower? And are processes fundamentally necessary for survival and learning?
Give me an example.
Well, if I get on an airplane, I desperately want my pilot to be a follower of the pre-flight checklist process.
Absolutely.
I do not want the pilot owning their choices and getting creative with the engine flap.
No, you do not.
Or think about learning to play the piano.
Okay.
You can't just sit down and improvise a masterpiece on day one.
Oh.
You have to blindly follow the rules of music theory. You have to play your scales over and over.
Yeah.
So where does this text draw the line between a necessary mechanism for learning and a dangerous trap?
That is the critical tension in the text.
Yeah.
And it requires us to distinguish between operational processes and existential ones.
Operational versus existential. Okay,
Water.
explain that.
Your pilot is following an operational process to manipulate a machine. That is a closed system with objective physics. Gravity works the same way every time.
Sure.
But the text is talking about the pursuit of self-awareness and meaning. Those are open systems.
Oh.
When you apply an operational mindset, a rigid checklist to an existential journey, you destroy the journey.
So it's about what you're outsourcing.
Yes.
Outsourcing the sequence of engine ignition is smart,
Very smart.
but outsourcing your morality, your purpose, or your internal awareness is fatal.
Exactly. And even in your piano analogy, the distinction holds up beautifully.
How so?
The scales are the scaffolding. A true teacher or guru will make you practice the scales, but they will explicitly tell you that the scales are not the music.
Right, they're just the tools.
The process of practicing scales is meant to enable your fingers to eventually play what is inside your head.
Yeah.
But if a piano teacher tells you that the only way to make music is to play the scales exactly as written forever and that improvisation is forbidden,
But then you're trapped.
that teacher is trapping you. They are turning you into a follower of a rigid process rather than a creator of music. A true student is enabled to grow self-awareness, while a follower is reduced to a cog, blindly executing a process.
That makes a lot of sense. The false guru presents the scaffolding as the entire building.
Yes.
They convince you that the process is the destination.
And if you believe that you will never leave their side because they are the gatekeepers of that specific process.
Which brings us to the psychological comfort of that trap.
Right.
If you are a follower of a strict process, you are completely insulated from the terror of failure.
How do you mean?
Well, think about it. If your life falls apart, but you followed the guru's 5-step morning routine to the letter, you don't have to take the blame.
Oh, I see.
You get to say, well, the process failed. The guru misled me.
You get to play the victim.
Yeah, you are a victim, yes,
Yeah.
but your ego remains intact. You didn't fail. The system failed.
That is such a heavy realization. We crave the process, so we have a scapegoat ready when things go wrong.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which perfectly sets up the massive, intimidating solution the text presents in its final sentence.
The culmination of all this.
Right. We've established the true guide, we've dissected the trap of the follower and the process, and now the text offers the antidote.
Read the ending.
It concludes, a guru is a teacher who makes one think and be the owner of one's own life
Mm-hmm.
and choices to live with growing happiness and meaningfulness.
The first radical move in that sentence is the demystification of the title.
From guru to teacher.
Yes, the text deliberately equates guru with teacher.
Yeah, it's a huge shift.
It strips away the velvet robes, the incense, the elevated stage, and the whole aura of cosmic infallibility.
It really grounds the entire concept, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Because a teacher is functional. A teacher is someone you engage with for a specific period of time to learn a specific skill, and then you leave their classroom.
You graduate.
Exactly. You don't stay in the third grade forever.
It shifts the dynamic from worship to education. And look at the mechanism of that education. A teacher who makes one think.
Makes one think.
We are back to forced cognition.
Yeah.
The teacher isn't dispensing wisdom for you to swallow. They're instigating your own mental machinery.
And, frankly, making someone think sounds kind of uncomfortable.
Oh, it's deeply uncomfortable.
It means they are answering your questions with harder questions.
Right.
They are pointing out the contradictions in your logic. They are refusing to let you settle for the easy, prepackaged answer.
Because the goal of this forced cognition is radical autonomy.
Radical autonomy.
The text states the ultimate aim is for you to be the owner of one's own life and choices.
The owner.
This is the direct antithesis to the follower we analyzed a moment ago.
Right.
The follower surrenders to the process to avoid blame. The owner embraces the terrifying burden of consequence.
Because radical ownership means there's nowhere left to hide.
Nowhere.
If you make a choice and it leads to ruin, you have to stand on the wreckage and say, I built this.
Yes.
You can't blame the economy, you can't blame your parents, and you certainly can't blame the guru.
You own it.
The sheer existential dread of that kind of ownership is staggering. I mean, no wonder people prefer to follow.
It is an incredibly heavy burden. To own your life means accepting that you are the author of your own reality, for better or worse.
Yeah.
But the text argues that this heavy, frightening ownership is the only gateway to the ultimate reward.
We're the end goal.
It links this ownership directly to the ability to live with growing happiness and meaningfulness.
Here's where it gets really interesting. The choice of the word growing.
Yes.
The authors didn't write to live in a state of happiness or to achieve meaning.
Right.
They said growing happiness and meaningfulness.
Which completely dismantles the illusion of the finish line.
Yeah.
We are sold this idea that if we just find the right process or marry the right person or get the right promotion, we will cross the threshold and finally be happy.
Like happiness is a geographical location you can navigate to and just park your car forever.
Right, like you just arrive. But the text aligns happiness and meaningfulness with the concept of self-awareness from the first sentence.
That dynamic living ecosystem we talked about.
Exactly. They are all dynamic.
Yeah.
If you are a follower stuck in a rigid process, your life becomes static.
Yeah.
It operates on a closed loop. But if you are an owner making choices, failing learning, and adapting, your capacity for meaning expands.
It grows.
It compounds over time. The happiness isn't a state of permanent euphoria. It's the deep, resonant satisfaction of knowing you are actively shaping your own existence.
Now, if we pull back from the philosophy for a second and look at how this applies to our daily routines, I mean, this text acts as a ruthless audit for every relationship in our lives.
Oh, for sure.
Because gurus aren't just figures in ashrams anymore.
No, they're everywhere.
They are the LinkedIn influencers telling you that waking up at 4 a.m. is the only path to wealth.
Right.
They are the diet zealots demanding total adherence to their nutritional ideology.
Eat exactly this and you'll be pure.
Exactly. Or they're corporate managers who prioritize blind compliance over innovative problem solving.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, this 4-sentence text gives you a framework to evaluate all of them.
Just a simple filter.
You simply ask 2 questions.
Yeah.
First, is this person or the system trying to enable my independent thought? Or are they trying to extract my compliance to boost their own metrics?
Am I a student or a follower?
Right. And second, are they offering me a shared path of discovery or a rigid process that promises safety in exchange for my autonomy?
Man. So what does this all mean for the listener sitting in their car or, making dinner right now? How do they take this intense blueprint and apply it today?
Well, you have to look in the mirror and run the diagnostic on yourself.
Okay.
If you are feeling stagnant, if you are feeling a deep lack of meaning in your career or your relationships, you have to ask yourself the uncomfortable question,
Which is?
have I slowly, quietly slipped into operating as a follower?
Wow.
Am I just executing a process like waking up, doing the tasks, following the societal script because it's safe? Or am I living as an owner, making deliberate, sometimes frightening choices about my own trajectory?
That is a brutal mirror to look into,
It's not easy.
because the path of least resistance is almost always to become a follower. The whole current of the society pushes us toward compliance.
Of course it does.
But this text makes it undeniable that the path of least resistance leads only to a mechanized, hollow existence.
Yes.
The friction is the point. The anxiety of choice is the point.
Because that friction is where the growth actually happens. You cannot outsource your evolution.
It's staggering that so much weight, so much psychological insight can be compacted into a graphic you could read in 10 seconds.
It really is.
It forces you to completely reevaluate the architecture of how you learn and who you trust.
And this raises an important question.
Okay.
It's a final, highly provocative paradox that stems directly from the internal logic of the text. But it requires us to take these ideas to their absolute logical extreme.
I love a good paradox.
Right.
Where does this blueprint ultimately lead us?
Well, let's follow the breadcrumbs. Okay. If a true guru is defined entirely by their desire to enable you,
Right.
if their only goal is to force you to think for yourself, to help you discover your internal awareness, and to ultimately transform you into the complete independent owner of your own life and choices,
Yeah.
then is the ultimate goal of a true guru to make themselves entirely obsolete.
Oh, wow.
Right.
That is wild. The ultimate success metric for a guide is their own irrelevance.
Think about it. A follower needs a leader forever.
Yeah. They constantly need the next step.
A cult leader or a corporate tyrant or an engagement-hungry influencer,
Yeah.
they all rely on your permanent dependence to maintain their status.
Right.
They need you to keep coming back for the next rule, the next step in the process.
But an owner doesn't.
Exactly. An owner only needs a teacher until they learn how to read the compass.
Yeah.
The greatest, most profound success a true guide can achieve is the exact moment you let go of their hand, step off their shared path, and walk into the woods alone.
Because they share the path just long enough for you to realize you have the strength to forge your own.
Precisely.
That completely shatters how we seek out mentorship.
All right.
Like if your guide or your system is constantly creating reasons why you can't survive without them,
Yeah.
they aren't guiding you.
No.
They're trapping you.
So the next time you find yourself overwhelmed by life, looking for an expert, a mentor, or a guru to just hand you the answers and make the anxiety go away,
Yeah.
pause and think.
Pause and think.
Are you looking for a savior to hand you a cage of rules? Or are you looking for a true teacher who will refuse to carry your weight and instead just quietly hand you a compass?
Handing you the compass and leaving you with the terrifying, beautiful responsibility of being the owner of your own choices.
It's a lot.
It's a lot to chew on. Keep thinking, keep questioning the process, and we'll catch you on the next deep dive.